Mr. Santiago, we are arriving, and we will be ready to begin when our chair gets here, Mr. Hilton.
Okay, we are live.
Okay, very good. Mr. Hilton, we are live. So at your word, we can begin.
Okay, then I will declare this meeting started for Facilities Finance and ask if there are any public comments.
Not at this time, Mr. Hilton.
Then I will ask Mr. Willauer to give his summer project updates.
Thank you, Mr. Hilton. Good evening, committee members. I'm going to share my screen here. All right, just a couple updates on our summer projects. This picture here is of the chillers at the middle school. On the left, the old ones going out, which they had to be craned out of the brick enclosure that is built around them, and then the new ones coming in, just to see the size of how big the units themselves are. This project did go very well. Everything is complete and the air is back up and running at the middle school. And as we all remember, we had a lovely flood at our middle school as well. So we did our repairs to the floors and the rooms that were affected, drywall replaced. And this was our culprit here on the left. This was the unit that we had to leak during the frozen temperatures. And on the right, that's the new unit installed. Just awaiting some final enclosures. Everything's going to be good and set up for that. So that is complete. And this is the back of Lincoln. Every time we had a heavy rain, we would have water that would go into the hallway of the building itself. So we had that milled out and regraded this past week. And also the storm drain in the rear lot that was deteriorating. The brick foundation was crumbling away. So we had that addressed, so we have no further issues there. That's my pictures. I do want to take this time as well just to say thank you to our maintenance and custodial staff for their hard work over the summer months. This is our busy time. So their work is well appreciated. Is there any questions on any of the updates? And then just my final thing, Mrs. Bearden, I see your hands up.
Thank you. Two questions. With the cleanup, that looks great, by the way, and the drywall removal, just to ask that there weren't any, that we remediated for as much as we saw, and there weren't any spores or anything that we needed to go further into or to take this, we want to make sure we do our due diligence, and I don't want anyone to think we're just putting new drywall over top of an existing problem that could possibly breed further, right? So number one, I just want to get clarification that for the public, that it was not just we swept, we cleaned, we mopped, right, and we slapped up some new drywall first, and then second, the pitch for Lincoln, that was graded by us, or we had someone else come in to make sure that the pitch, that we did not continue to have that sort of drainage or flooding into that area. And is that grading the grate where the water is flowing into, is that smaller, or it just appears that way because of the angle of the picture and the square that's around it? So sorry, that was really three questions, but.
Sure. Now the repair at Lincoln was done by a professional outfit. We've used them in the past and have done very good work for us. So everything was graded out. I was there when they took their measurements. They put a swale in as well to shoot the water down towards the now working drain. That was the best angle for it to go. And the storm drain is the same size as the angle of the picture. I tried to get a full view of the patch. for the second picture. So it's the same size, and our pipe underground was repaired and everything is good to go there. And as far as the middle school, yes, we had remediation right away. We took a couple weeks of drying out and testing, and if any test came back still showing a slight moisture level, we just waited. Thank goodness we had. That's why we waited till the summer to get all that done. We retested in the summer after we removed it during the school year. Everything was bone dry. We had ventilation, large fans running as soon as the flood occurred, and again retested before any repairs were made. And we had a clear bill of health before we did any of that.
In fact, Mr. Willauer, if I recall correctly, the new, more strict standards that were being applied to these types of construction issues and whatnot was we were subject to the newer, more stricter standards. And as I recall, you were talking to, I don't know who it was, a lead foreman or the supervisor or whatever, and we hit and exceeded all those numbers pretty much right away and still made sure that we were good to go by waiting. Am I recalling
Absolutely.
that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. We did hit all the new standards, and we were right on point from the start. So very pleased on a clear bill of health from the start of that.
Thank you. I want confidence for our staff and our students and parents. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Okay, I just had one other final note, just a note of information as far as the administration building. I would know at some point we'll be talking about some of the mechanicals there. I did just do a preliminary pricing analysis, I guess we'll call it, on the lower unit where the boardroom is. And we are currently running off of one rooftop unit. We do have two that work together. So the replacement cost, just for information purposes, is around $28,000 for one unit. So if at the time of repair or we decide to move forward with that, just keep that in mind. And it would be highly recommended by professionals as in myself with this to do both units at or around the same time, just because they are the same age, and the one that's still working is working a lot harder now to keep up with the system. And that is all I have. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Yes, I would like to ask about the middle school playground. Looks like it hasn't happened yet.
Yes, right now we're just still dealing with some issues with that. We will be glad to give an update once we have clearer direction on where we're going to go from. We had some other unexpected delays. So we will update once we have that information.
Okay, is this borough code related or is this something else?
Borough and just the direction of what we have to do at this point.
There was a lot of engineering on the back side from the original design. We had YSL, I believe, was our engineer who did our original design plans. Those were submitted. They were reviewed. There was recommendations that were made. We paid for another review of the plans through the borough's engineer. It was consuming a lot of time. We had already ordered that playground equipment. And we're still going back and trying to configure, a remedy that's not going to be cost prohibitive for us to put that playground equipment in. Some of it had to do with the artificial turf and the surfacing and the grading that needed to be done. Some of it had to do with, I guess it's all underground engineering stuff. It's something that I wouldn't feel comfortable speaking to, but we can get a better update for you. But at this point, we've kind of just put that on pause because it was starting to look a little cost prohibitive for us to move forward with the original parameters that we have presented.
Okay. Well, before we leave facilities altogether, I will remind committee members of the long process we've had since we, the newest consultant, ONS, not ONS, they're not the newest ones, EI. And they had many reports over the last year. The most recent one was in February, in which they were talking about the two things that really have to be done soon is the administration building and Edgewood School. Both of those HVAC systems are vintage 1969. So they're way, way past their expiration date. And we spoke in, not we, but Mr. Willauer gave us a presentation at the April meeting, showed us pictures of the heating and cooling system at Edgewood and at the administration building. And then at the May meeting, we looked at, and I had emailed everybody the latest facilities report, which you had already in February, but I sent it to you again by EI, talking about options, and was by far the least expensive and least troublesome option is just to replace the HVAC systems we have at the administration building and in Edgewood. And if we did both of them, one is a little under 3 million, that's the administration building, and the other one was 6.6 million. That's the roofs, the windows, heating and cooling. And it was the desire of the board not to make a decision in, now all is asking for, all Dan is asking for is a go ahead to do the engineering, not to do the work, but to do the engineering so we know exactly if there's something that we hadn't thought about, how much it's going to cost, and so that we can do this before it's a crisis. You won't remember, but back in 2003, we had mold at Edgewood in September. They discovered that, and they had to close Edgewood down, and we had to send the kids over to Berea Bible School in Saratoga, and all the teachers had to take all their stuff down to this different building for about 2 months while they remediated the mold. And we know it has to be replaced. We'd rather not have to wait until something breaks and then we have some kind of a crisis like that. Well, anyway, so it was the will of the committee. Well, let's not do it quite yet. Authorize this engineering because we haven't passed the budget. Let's address it in June. So now we're in August. And once again, I'm requesting this committee to suggest that we authorize Dan to go ahead and do the engineering for the administration building and Edgewood. Mr. Armato.
Okay, well, Tom, I agree. The short answer is I agree.
Thank you. Mrs. Johnson.
This is for the HVAC specifically, or this is also including the windows?
It's including everything, but of course,
Okay.
just because he's done the engineering doesn't mean we have
I
to.
understood. I agree. I would like if somebody could, not right now, but in email, point back to whatever documentation we were given, kind of refresh a little bit of like what we're doing. But as a principal, yeah, we need to move forward on some of these have-tos. And we have the funds to do that too, that are for these one-time kind of have-tos, and we should move forward.
Thank you. I'm sure we can send you all of that stuff because it's been documented quite a bit. Mrs. Bearden.
Sir, could you just quantify what you mean by engineering? I know logically what engineering is, but I just am looking for a clarifying point on what we mean that we're asking for Mr. Willhauer to do the engineering. And then, yes, I've always asked for a red alert, yellow alert, green alert, and if it's priority, I am always for preventative before it costs us more than it needs to.
Okay, let me get Mr. Heidel and Mr. Klein. Then I'll ask Mr. Willauer to go into what he needs to do right now in preparation. But Mr. Klein.
I had the same question Mrs. Bearden just had. I didn't know what we meant by engineering, so thank you.
Okay, we'll ask Mr. Willauer. And Mr. Heidel.
Just make sure that, we were talking previously and before the budget about lots of different options with lots of money. Now we're basically just committing for the next, I'd say 5-10 years to Edgewood as it is, administration building as it is, not moving anybody, just going through, right? And just remember, Tom, did we talk about the heater chiller with Bob Kripplebauer his last year? And we said it was Bob Kripplebauer's last year, and he talked about the heater chiller, and we kind of went and lived with it since then, right?
They found the part.
It was like,
I don't know, they did a worldwide search and they found a part and they kept it going, but we can't go on forever.
Right.
So I don't see you on my screen, Mr. Willauer, but I know you're lurking around here somewhere. Okay, right. Could you tell us what exactly you're going to do at this point?
So we would just do a rough engineering is the correct word. Engineering or we're going to get drawings, get a plan together of what our best options are. And with that, I would prepare different types of systems so we can sort through and go through what is our best option, what is the most cost effective upfront, what is the most long-term, and where are we at now? Because we know we are on, gratefully, we've been on borrowed time with these units and they've held through. We've been able to fix them a lot in-house. Our guys have found parts and kept them running. So for what we need right now is just to get a rough idea of what we're looking at budgetarily on the systems that we want to go with for each building.
Okay, so if I don't think we need to put that on the agenda. I think if everybody's in agreement with that philosophically on the committee, we will say thank you very much, committee members. Thank you, Dan, for that. And I will call an end to the facilities committee meeting. And since I don't have to do any public comment, I'll go right into finance with Mrs. Oakley.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Willauer. Good evening, board members. Thank you, Michelle, for pulling up the agenda. August is a heavy month for contracts. As you know, we're getting back into the swing of things. So to start off, we will have 4 special education contracts, as well as 5 21st century grant funded contracts. We also have another contract through Market Street Sports, which is actually a revenue contract. It's for advertising authorizations, and that will generate some revenue for us. The proposal's for $6,500 a year, and that's for Bachman's Roofing. So we will ask for your approval on those contracts. I did want to put forward that we are working on a number of other contracts for professional services and basically contracted employees. So I have a number of contracts that I don't have on here, and the reason being is because I don't have the contracts in place yet. We've reached out to all of our vendors who we contract employees through, and we are looking to add some new language into the contracts this year, because this is a budget finance update and this will directly go into our overall budget. So some of the things that we're looking to do this year, I mean, obviously we're looking to make sure everything's maximized to its efficiency, but we have some additional language edits that I want to make sure are in our contracts moving forward, and some of them revolve around time clock, timekeeping, time tracking, and making sure that these contracted employees are clocking in and out of our buildings, and that we're only paying for those services that are being rendered, that we can verify that there was people in our buildings providing services. I just want to make sure that language is in there. I think it's going to tighten things up for us. We have some workers' comp language that we've been, requested from our workers' comp provider to put into the contracts that have to do with contracted employees. Fortunately, we've never ran into any instances. We do have some language in there, but they've updated it and gave their recommendations. So that will also be part of these contracts. Another area of concern is obviously our grant funds. So we have some grant funds that have been, they're basically uncertainty. So I want to make sure we have language in there that explains if we don't get those grant funds, that we will not be obligated to, continue and honor the contract. So I will run through some of these just because I want to make sure that the board is understanding of what exactly we are putting on for your approval. The contracts that we will propose for this year, at this point, they are all included in the budget. But our largest one is our contracted paraprofessionals through Education. Last year, we spent a little over $1 million through the agency for agency contracts. Currently, we have 38 paras that we're going to contract, and we're looking at about $1.3 million in paraprofessionals. The second contract we'll have with the Lincoln Center and is for 2 licensed social workers. Their rate of pay will be $90,000 each for each social worker per year. So that's going to be a $180,000 contract. We have 2 contracts for psychological services. One is through the IU, and I'm awaiting the rate on that. The other one is through Therapy Source, and we have an hourly rate for psych services through Therapy Source. Just for reference point, last year we spent a little over $35,000 with Therapy Source for contracted services for psychs. We're awaiting our sub-nurse contract. We're obviously trying to negotiate with our vendors, get the best price we can. We have 2 custodial subs that we use through Precision HR. That will be on for approval as well. Those hours vary, but if they were to work 8 hours a day for the full year, that's a $72,000 contract per each custodial sub that we would receive. We don't usually sub for a full time, it's just for intermittent to cover leaves and to cover, staffing shortages, but we have to have it in place so that we have, an option to cover when our staff is out. We also have our Lincoln Center contract with Gear Up, and that was one of the funding sources that the federal government had talked about maybe potentially reducing or putting on hold. At this point, we've gotten the green light on that, but we want to make sure we still have the language in there to protect us if something else happens down the line. And we'll put that same language in our MOUs for 21st Century. Again, we got the green light on those this year, but just we're living in uncertainty, as we all know. We've seen it. We saw what happened with Title, in the past few months. We at one point were talking about not receiving Title II and IV funds, and at this point we've now gotten the green light from the state. They're back, going to release that money to us. So that's no longer on hold. So some positive news that we've received in the past few months. I mean, it's looking like everything's going to operate status quo, but we just want to make sure that we are on top of it and in front of it, so that we don't get ourselves in a contracted situation where we're paying for something that we're not receiving the revenue for on the back end. The next item that I'll have for approval would be the acknowledgement annually. This was a PDE requirement last time the auditors were out. They want us to acknowledge our drivers who we contract with. So we'll have those on for your approval. We also have.
Mr. Heidel, we already know that'll go on non-consent, I assume.
It's not, it's just an acknowledgement. It's not, I shouldn't have said approval. We put it on, I think we put it on like information items. It's not, we're not required to approve them. We have to just acknowledge them. We have to acknowledge their names. I don't know why the state put that requirement out there. We don't do it for any of our, like, we don't do all of our paras. We don't put them on by name, but for some reason, the state came out and they were just honed in on the drivers and they wanted us to acknowledge by name drivers. So we'll put the list of drivers out there for
Yeah,
acknowledgement.
we did the contract with CMD back in May, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we did.
So you're good with the information item.
Yeah, it's just, it's.
All right.
It's kind of again, we don't want any more, to-dos with the state or corrective action. So we're just going to continue to do that practice. Our school physician and dental rates, they will be on, community health and dental is $4.80 exam. And Dr. John Anderson is $16 for each physical. We actually had a poll countywide about these rates, and we're probably the lowest in the county. So that was a positive. I was happy to see that. Other districts are paying different, much higher per physical and per dental exam. So we're in good shape there. We must acknowledge our workers' comp medical panel, so that will be on. And then, Stephen, I'll leave these last two items to you if you want to cover, or
Yeah, can you pull them up? Because I don't remember.
sure. The first is the residency adjudication.
So each year around this time, board members, I remind you that we have a process whereby someone who is a non-resident wanting to come here. So in other words, the easiest example is, hey, my parents live in Pottsgrove, I live in Pottsgrove, but something happened, and as a result, now I'm living with say aunt or grandmother or something in the Pottstown School District. There's a process for that. And it only lasts for a year. And when people do what they need to do and turn in their paperwork, if that they need to go for a second year, then you never hear about it. But we realized several years ago that we needed to offer due process of law. And that due process of law is simply an opportunity for them to have a hearing with an impartial hearing officer. So the residency adjudication decisions is essentially, if someone shows up, which they almost never do, a hearing officer is the one who is saying, okay, the district offered you the opportunity to turn in your paperwork. You failed to do so. Therefore, you do not have a right to simply show up to school. So this is somewhat perfunctory, but we always like to just remind board members, what's going on and what it is. And we never name, students per se, but you'll see a list of student IDs and it's put on the agenda for your approval. Any questions on that item before I move to settlement agreements? Okay, hearing none. There was a special ed matter before the board. It was discussed at an executive session, which occurred on June 12th. I remember because I was not there. But you all spent some time with our director of special education. He went over a few cases. One of those cases he told you was not quite wrapped up yet. It will be on the agenda, but since it was previously discussed, I just wanted to remind you all, and from there we will go. Thank you.
Turn it back to you, Mr. Hilton, because I think we're at the public comment. Unless there's anything else. I know I covered a lot, so if anybody wanted me to recover anything or had questions, I can take those too.
And miraculously, we are near on time, Mr. Hill.
Well, thank you, Maureen, for rescuing me from irrelevancy so that I can say, as chairman of the committee, are there any public comments?
Not at this time, Mr. Hilton.
No? Well, then I will announce that we have another committee meeting on the 11th of September, fateful day, and adjourn this committee. Thank you.
Sorry, one quick question.
Oh,
I want to make sure I didn't see something incorrectly. Are there 2 settlement agreements that are coming before us, or 1?
That's my typo. I'll take responsibility.
Thank you.
I-
Okay, just want to make sure.
I did that. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Hilton. Sorry to jump in there. I just want to make sure we have 1, not 2. Okay, thank you.
okay, we're over and out.
Okay. Welcome to the Community Relations Committee. Are there any public comments?
Not at this time, Mrs. Johnson.
Thank you. We have two different presentations for this committee. Is Mr. Howard Brown in the waiting room or somebody else from the foundation?
Mr. Santiago, will you please correct me if I'm wrong? It looks like we do not have our guest from the foundation.
No, he's not present, but he did get an invitation.
Okay. Well, we can at least reverse the order of those presentations, and if he is able to make it, we'll let him jump in then, if that's okay with you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And you are just going to give us some beginning of the school year updates, kind of whatever you wanted to share, whatever you thought was should be top of mind for everybody going into the school year.
Yes, thank you, committee members. I will be brief. Hopefully, you have all received the different emails and all the updates. So some of the big news for the 24, whoa, the 25-26 school year is at the high school. We have foregone the age-old process of report cards. Instead, we are going to monthly academic updates because, quite frankly, Power School makes report cards irrelevant. And it didn't make a whole lot of sense. And the more we talked about it, the more we said, yeah, you're kind of right. It prepares kids more for college anyway. So there will be tests, there will be summatives, but there will not be a quarter one and quarter three. There will just be a semester one and a semester two, but we will be sending now. Parents won't have to log into Power School, which they can still do. They can still check a lot of stuff, but they will get an email, and that email will list for them. We tested the system twice last year, so it will give them whatever the students have at that time. So just as a reminder to anyone who is listening who might be a parent, if you see that your child is receiving a D and maybe they're on a team, that's not necessarily the end of the world, but it is a moment in time, and it is something that we want you to know about and potentially act on. So that is a big difference happening, and I'm excited about it because as hopefully I'll have an opportunity to share with all of you, I was able to participate in a professional development opportunity over the summer. You might remember that last spring or maybe it was February, I can't remember, but you authorized me to participate in a scholarship program. So you guys didn't pay for it, but I won a scholarship through an application process to visit Sweden and Finland and check out their education systems. I learned a lot. I was, in classrooms more than I would like to be during the summer, but it was totally worth it. So I'll be able to bring that back to board members and share a little bit of what I learned. One of the things that I learned, which I was really happy we were on the exact same track, is that they are doubling down on the fact that cell phones are a major distraction and hurting their bottom line as it relates to academics and achievement. So they're pretty much near outlawing them in many of their schools. We started that process. We got really serious about it last year. And, as is all things in high school life, not as much at the middle school, but definitely in high school, we kind of let up on the gas a little bit. But we're doubling down. So that is going to be something that we continue to enforce, which I am really grateful for. Immunizations is another major area of concern. We tried very hard not to strictly enforce the rule that we should be enforcing, which is you have 5 school days before your immunizations are due, and then after that, on day 6, you're either sitting in ISS or you're going home. Now, all you have to do is get a doctor's appointment. We recognize the fact that if you call the doctor and say, hey, I need an appointment to get my immunization records, they're going to say, I'll see you Thursday in 2 weeks. That's fine. Just show us that you've actually done that, and then you're safe. But for those who do not cooperate, that is definitely an area of concern. So yeah, Chromebooks should be out for everyone within 2 weeks. Most people will have it within 1 week. Some people are going to find out that they didn't pay some of their bills because they didn't have insurance, and they had to have repairs and whatnot. So some of those conversations are going to be happening. But when people came to me and said, Stephen, what are we going to do? People are not going to like it if we tell them that they have a bill to pay. I said, this community spoke. When we told the board what was going on and we heard from people, they said, we don't want to pay $15 a year for technology. We want a you break it, you bought it process. And so that is where we're at as it relates to some of the things in the beginning of the year. We've done our very best to inform people, let people know what's going on. I did a quick video, which I got away from because I think that I saturated the market a little bit. So I stopped doing them for a while, but last I checked, Mr. Armato, do you know what that video was that we did, like the top 5 things you need to know before coming to school?
When did we do it, or how?
No, like what the views were. I think the viewership was pretty good.
Yeah, quite honestly, I don't remember, but
Okay, well, I
but I
know
know that I felt pretty comfortable that we were sharing the message.
it was 1,500 when last I checked, so hopefully it was further than that, and a lot of thumbs up. No major controversy because we were just given information. But that, I think, sums it up. If there's any questions or anything that I didn't cover, I'm happy to answer.
One thing I just want to say that I had was working on doing was updating information through the parent portal. I started doing that this morning because I knew from the updates that I could do it online, and that worked, I would say, pretty well.
Yeah.
So I would encourage people to take advantage of that. Ms. Kancianik.
Yeah, I had a question about the summary, the Power School summary that's going to be coming out. I guess it's a summary, right?
The monthly
The
updates.
monthly, yeah.
Mhm.
Is that going to be just the class and grade, or is it gonna, and then you can log in to see what, because I think when you log in now, you can kind of see like assignments. I don't know if it's assignments, but you get a more in-depth look at it when you log in. So this that's
You're
coming
absolutely
out
correct.
is
Yeah,
just grades, or is it going to have all that?
So the story is multi-layered, so I'll try not to get too boring, but what we believe is happening is most students are logging into their student login and they're showing their parents and saying, hey, look, I got a C in Mrs. Smith's test. I really struggle in her class, or whatever else. The number of parent logins is actually fairly low for what I would like. I would like it to be higher, but I also know, being a parent myself, that I also say, Abigail, open up your phone and show me what your grades are, because it's just one more thing for me to log into. So that's where some of this idea came from, where we said, okay, we know that that's occurring. And honestly, it's not the parent that uses the student that I'm worried about. It's the parent that, out of sight, out of mind, that we're worried about. That it's they think everything's going good. They ask their son or daughter, hey, how's everything going? Everything is great. And then it's a big surprise when we're failing 3 courses and maybe we're not moving to go into the junior year. So the idea is This gives you the basic outline. You got an A, you got a B, you got a C, you got a D. And then if you want more information, and there's a little, we actually put the login. All you got to do is click on it. And then you have to have, some people may have to do forget password, but they can get in.
I have a follow-up question. Are we still doing like honor roll? Like, because that's usually correlates with like a report card. So how are we doing
Yeah.
that?
Well, if we are still doing honor roll, but we're not doing it per quarter, we would do it at the end of the semester. So yeah, none of that has really changed. We are looking at honor roll at the middle school. We have to look at our assessment practices all over. Like, and I will tell you that like our elementary, our teachers have said, hey, listen, we helped design this thing, but it was before we had all this stuff on Linkit and everything else. And now the tail is wagging the dog now. Like we're filling out these old report cards based on stuff we did 15 years ago. And we have such better information that we want to get in the hands of parents, but we have to figure out how we do that without just, flashing some charts at people and saying, hey, here's where your kid is, and nobody really knows what's going on. So really good question. And Power School, thank you for reminding me with regard to the fact that everybody can put in their stuff now. They can, if you have a change of name, well, it wouldn't be change of name probably, but change of address or change of phone number, which phone number you want to get the message when we call off school, you can update all of that online. We are also getting a new attendance system, which won't mean a lot, but we received a lot of complaints about safe arrival, that it was not user friendly, despite the fact that we did a lot of research. But we made the decision last spring to get away from it, and we found something that we think is going to be better. We're not quite ready to roll that out, but we will be by next week. Mrs. Bearden.
Thank you. I just had a question about the immunization. I know it's law, right?
Yes.
And we see so many new cases and unnecessary health concerns and risks and loss of life of children because of something so simple that they would have had an immunization for. That said, I pause for concern for students being held accountable for something that they have no control over and being placed in ISS. Is there something else that we can do? Because I'd like to see students being able to start off on the right track and placing accountability on the students. I know it's more of an isolation piece for protection than a say consequence or disciplinary procedure. I do understand that. But is there something else that we can do that starts our students off correctly for when their parents are unable or just don't have the means, because these do require co-pays and certain things, and with the changes with Medicaid and so forth, it's a viable concern for our parents being able to get all of their students in. Usually it's more than one, to have them vaccinated and have their records updated.
Yeah, well, thank you for the question. It is a real problem and a real concern. I will tell you that for the most part, we are sending them home. Because that's what the law requires. The only time, and we're not assigning ISS. We're not saying like, oh, you don't have your stuff, you get ISS. Because it's not a disciplinary matter, it's a regulatory matter. So the only time that they go to ISS is when they say, hey, my mom, told me to go to school and she locks the house. So I can't go home because I can't get in the house. In which case, we're not going to send a kid and say, well, stay outside. We can't get a hold of mom. Then we just we're not allowed to put them in the regular population for all the reasons that you kind of alluded to, that it's a potential safety issue, and it is the law. I will tell you that we have tried to be very, very accommodating, and I'm not gonna lie, we probably shouldn't have, because we were punished for that accommodation. Because if you're going to let me go till the end of the week, then maybe you'll let me go to the end of the next week. And oh, I forgot to do it again. And oh, you know what? I really don't care. That's fine. I'll sit in the main office because I really don't want to go to class anyway. So we know that this is an area of non-compliance for us, that we didn't do as good of a job as we should have. So now we're trying to get the word out to say, and I mean, this is an ebb and flow. It's not like we've always been bad at this. But the past couple of years has been a real struggle. So we've wanted to say, like, folks, it's the law, it's regulation, it's for a safety matter. We try very hard, and like I say, all we need is an appointment. So even if that appointment is in October, so long as there's the appointment there, then we put it in that wouldn't take that long. But the appointment is there, and the nurses are responsible. So it's not like, if they say, hey, I have an appointment, and then they say, oh, I forgot about the appointment, then we have no choice but to send them home. So it's a big issue, and why I'm trying to, send word out so that everybody knows and deals with it.
Thank you. Just putting that out there, and reaffirming it is helpful as well. So thank you.
Yep, Mr. Heidel.
A couple things. One, up until last year, I was the same way. Maddie, show me your grades, log in. But yeah, since last year, I've done Low Power School. Safe arrival, yeah, it was not good. I mean,
Yeah.
I could drop her off late, and then within a half hour, it was too late to put in a late request, or it was too late to put an absence in.
Mhm.
So that was always tough with it. And then the monthly emails from Power School, will that also have attendance to it as well too? Or would it just be grades?
I seem to remember us talking about it. I remember very vividly the grades and how that looks, and the login at the bottom, because I fought hard to make sure that we could put that in there. I don't remember about attendance. I'll have to check back, Mr. Heidel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good question.
Mrs. Kansianik.
Yeah, do you know offhand if the immunizations are like because I seem to remember it was like particular grades that were really that needed the updates. Like not every grade I think needs
Correct.
an update. Do
Yep.
you know offhand what those grades are?
I'm going to go off of memory. I think it's 5, 8, and 11, but don't quote me on that. I can look up that as well and send it. I'll send it out to, if I'm looking up attendance, I can look up that too.
Have we ever partnered with anyone like Visiting Nurses Association or anyone like that when we've had issues with vaccines? Like, have we ever looked at doing a clinic or something on site?
We have Pottstown. Um, uh, what's the federal clinic that had the trailer on our property for like a year and a half, John? Right there in between the middle school and the high school. Um, oh my gosh, the name escapes me right now.
Community Health and Dental?
Thank you. Community Health and Dental had a clinic in right there in between. It was kind of off. They didn't take any of our parking. They took some of our grass. And they
Okay.
had that there. I do not know what the status of that is right now. I know that they were not satisfied with the traffic and
Okay.
the utilization. So I know that they were looking to increase that. I'm a big believer in community health and dental. When I
Yeah.
look at what they can provide for the community, if I were here, I would be utilizing their services. I have also let our staff know that, there's nothing to say that they can't utilize those services as well. So I mean, some people have looked and they're like, wow, these rates are really good,
Mhm.
and I can get service pretty quickly because they're well staffed. So we're lucky to have that federal clinic. I push it as much as possible.
Okay.
But as you can imagine, um, we can't make the phone calls for them. We can give them the
Understood.
information, but yeah.
Yeah, I just was thinking of it from the standpoint of, I assume there are a number of different motivations for why we're struggling in the area of people having their immunizations on time. And I assume part of it is the concern that people might have about them and that sort of thing. And then part of it is the more practical needing to schedule an appointment, needing to maybe have a copay or insurance issues. So to the degree that it's an access problem, I'm glad to hear that we're pushing, we're giving people resources as needed. And I do know a lot of our community uses community health and dental, so that checks out.
Do you need me to display the agenda? I hope I have
No,
the.
unless our guest presenter is here.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Santiago is telling me 3,100 views on the video, so that's good. Word is out there.
Yes.
And I am not seeing I'm not seeing Mr. Brown right
All right,
now.
we'll just
so.
we'll reschedule for another time. I believe that the next two agenda items, because it was a fairly simple agenda, were advocacy updates from basically funding issues. Yep. State budget updates and federal updates. So Ms. Jampo gave us a pretty good update, basically mentioning that as far as the federal update goes, we are more or less back on track compared to some of the things that had been rescinded or frozen. So I don't think there's too much more to say there other than that, Pennsylvania was one of the states to join in the lawsuit related to those things, trying to make sure that that was reinstated. And I don't think I need the agenda anymore unless there's whatever, something else. But as far as the state budget goes, everybody may have heard there's not one. Long story short, the House passed a budget again, another one, that as far as schools go, it implemented the second year of the fair funding phase in of that money for adequacy, for equity. It was, it was a bipartisan vote on the House side, but definitely more to one party than the other. Our state rep voted for that increased fair funding, and also cyber charters continued to be in the mix there. The Senate unfortunately passed a flat budget that basically wanted to flat fund schools and everything else for the coming year. And from the school perspective, that would be deeply problematic. That was a party line vote. Our senator voted for the flat funding. So I was a little disheartened by that, disheartened by the lack of progress in general. I don't know at what point it begins to deeply impact us as a district to not be getting that revenue coming in. If Mr. Rodriguez, there's something, if you've got insight into that, practical side.
I can, and thank you for the question. I just happened to speak to a reporter who called me, because another reporter, I think, gave my information to him and said, this guy will actually talk to you. So he drilled me with questions. He was not an education reporter, kept me on the phone for 25 minutes. So of course I did all the talking, but so he had the exact same question. Hey, if a budget doesn't get passed, are you going to have to lay people off, et cetera, et cetera? And I told him, I said, listen, unfortunately or unfortunately, many of our dollars come from our community, which means that our taxpayers paid their taxes over the summer, and that tax money will bring us, through most of 2025. And I said, if the state budget doesn't have their act together and we're talking about Christmas, well, you can call me back and we're going to have a different conversation. But the immediate impact for a school district like us is, not going to be felt. Now, a school district that is, gets 85% of their funding from hold harmless, I mean,
Mhm.
the budget, then yes, they might have to think about what they're doing to keep things going. I will say this, and Mrs. Johnson, I did share my frustration and, quite frankly, my outrage at the President Pro Temp's public comments about, well, maybe we need to look at this formula, because what I told the reporter is, constitutionally, we already won this battle in court. You
Mhm.
can't change the rules down the game. And I also said, remember that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Congress sets the line that we are all trying to hit. So you can't set the line and then decide that you don't want to fund it. So I was not kind. So whatever he decides to print, board members, please forgive me. That being said, I will give a shout out to Senator Pennycook, and I know how she voted, and I also know why. She's in a part of a caucus, so voting against her caucus over and over again would not probably do well for her. But she has I know that she's working behind the scenes and has repeatedly, uh, basically risked some of her own reputation to fight for our students. And I won't go any further publicly, but if anybody wants to know more, I'll be happy to share privately with board members on that. When it comes to cyber school, she is our champion to get things changed. She knows that it's broken, and she knows why things aren't moving. So behind closed doors and publicly, although not always, she pushes hard on that. So for what it's worth, I was able to use Senator Pennycook and Representative Cerisi as a model of a DNR who can be in the same room with each other and make a deal. So my hope is that that's what that both the House and the Senate look to those two and figure it out. So there you go. That's
I like your optimism.
you.
And I will say, like, I can appreciate the value of our rep and senator both being in the majority in their respective houses, and hope that that can really pay off for us, especially when it comes to cyber charter reform, because I know there's alignment there. Um, yeah, I was thinking about it from the court case perspective, and like, when the Commonwealth Court ruled that schools were being unconstitutionally funded, they were being unconstitutionally underfunded, no one appealed. They all accepted that ruling. And so my hope and expectation would be that whatever the party and whatever, what House or Senate, governor, any of it, that we've accepted we need to fix this. And so to hear the statement, not thankfully from our senator, but from Senate leadership saying, "Oh, we need to go back and relook at this." No way. That as you said, that battle's been fought, and the schools won, and our students deserve to have full and fair funding. And it should not be a fight every single year, because again, it's already been done. So I will get off my soapbox, but I am more than a little fired up, and I want our electeds fighting for us every day in every way. So, any other thoughts? Ms. Kancianik?
This is not about advocacy, but it's government
Go for it.
related.
Yep.
I've had a lot of people asking me about the Sunbucks program. Mr. Rodriguez, can you kind of give us a rundown of what's happening? Like, is our district getting it? Who did they need to apply? Like, people are asking me and I don't know. And I don't remember when we talked about it before.
I feel like I mentioned it in a meeting. I may have been when Mr. Rodriguez wasn't there.
Yeah, I am unfamiliar with the program.
It's the SNAP program for students over the summer.
Oh,
Yeah.
the white card to
Yeah,
get
It's called Sunbucks.
okay.
Sunbucks now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That is not on my radar. I can do some more research and get back to you. I don't know where we are.
I thought the deal was our district was supposed to get it kind of across the board again this summer. I didn't, I will say, I didn't ever receive it in the mail. And the idea was keep you on the lookout for an envelope that's like
I
less
remember
than
that.
clearly marked. And it's the same, it's been the same since like the pandemic. Not that I don't think we've gotten it every year, but
I can't confirm it, but I have seen on Facebook people that have SNAP or have received their funds.
okay.
That was
Are they
about
people that
a
already
week
get
to 10
EB?
days ago.
Do you know
Yeah,
if
if
they're
if you have SNAP, it has already been hit your account. I don't know if we're getting a card or not. I mean, I had a card last year, but once that was done, it was done. So I haven't seen a new card come in yet. I think I got an email from CAO saying that, if you have a card, it'll show up in your account. Cards will be sent to people that didn't have a card, but I don't know. Every year I seem to have a card, and then I don't know if I'm supposed to keep that card or a new card comes in. So I just
Yep.
kind of wait and see what happens. But
Yeah.
nothing's happened so far. So
Well, that's a little bit of an update, but if I can
Yeah.
find more, Mrs. Kansianic, I'll relay the message.
no, they said what I was kind of thinking. We don't really know. That's
Okay.
yeah.
If we
Yep.
find out that that they are sending out cards, I would like to know
Okay, sure.
if there is an update available about that.
Or if it's everybody. So because on the website, like on the government website, it does not appear like it's everybody. Like it'll say like if your district is all free lunch and you also fall in the income requirements, then you get it, which would make me believe that we're not all getting it.
Right.
Mhm.
But so some people are saying we are. So I just wanted to kind of get an idea.
Cool. That was all I had for anything.
I saw
advocacy
Mr.
related.
Amato's hand. Sorry,
Oh,
Me
Mrs.
too.
Johnson. I don't know if he put it down.
no, I didn't see
Yeah,
it. Sorry.
I put it down because I don't think I have anything other to add to what has been said, because I do remember seeing some communication directly to what you're saying, Phoebe. So I don't have anything new. So I'll
Okay.
be quiet.
I thought maybe you just wanted to join me on the soapbox about funding.
Yeah, that would be easy to do. And I think I was on that soapbox the other day at a meeting.
Nice. Ms. Bearden.
I will join you on the soapbox and say I'm absolutely annoyed and frustrated. And I think that Rep. Cerisi and Pennycook Center, I think that is a wonderful example of reaching across the aisles and doing what's right, because I know that when it comes to our students, children, party should not play a factor. Our students should not be pawns in any political platform, regardless of what party affiliation you are. Really doesn't matter to me. It's about our students, and when children are at risk, they're our future, and we can't have the double part where we say, oh, they're not meeting this and they're not meeting that, and at the same time you have parties going back and forth about what money they should have, and that's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. So I think they're a wonderful example, and thank you for continuing to highlight it and give us that updated information. And also for Mr. Rodriguez for continuing to also be on the front lines of our advocacy. Aside from that, I would like to say a thank you to the buildings for getting things in order, for the staff coming in and taking, all of their special tools and things to make their classrooms inviting and bright and ready for their students, and for the admin and support staff who often go unnoticed, and the efforts that they put into support each other and to support the parents and try to make things as seamless as possible, mitigating obviously, because there are always pitfalls. There's nothing that's perfect, and I'm not one to ever say that there is such, but to those staff members as well who go unnoticed, I'd like to thank them for getting our schools ready for our parents and students entering. So that's my little spiel.
Thank you. If there are no other comments from committee or board members right now, I'll see if Mercedes or anyone else from the Family Advisory Committee is here and wants to give an update.
Good evening, everyone. Mercedes Jackson, FAC. So I wanted to say, piggybacking just a little bit before I get into my updates. I agree with what President Bearden said about, the children not feeling like they're being punished for something that's has nothing to do with what they're doing. And I agree. That's the first thing that I thought of when I heard that, so they want to put anyone in ISS, put the neglectful people who's supposed to be showing up for these kids, put them in ISS. In regards to FAC, we are so excited for the 25-26 school year. Also walking around to the different back to school nights, just listening to the comments that people are making, all positive comments. I even went to say to, I heard y'all saying Tom. I'm terrible with names, so I apologize in advance if I chop yours up because that's what I'm a master of. Somebody said at the high school about the trees and how different it looks. So you got a compliment on them trees, my guy. And they were like talking about how it looks like a campus and how it gives a different feel. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give that feedback. And I'm not no hater. I share positivity. I love to hear positivity. That's what makes the world go round. Also too, I just wanted to, again, put a friendly reminder out there to the families that are currently in the Pottstown School District and or new to the Pottstown School District. Family Advisory Committee is a group of parents. We are a group of parents. There are 5 of us. There may be 5, but it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And we volunteer our time, and we know the importance of education and having a relationship with all the people in this community, in these school buildings, and the admin buildings, we're all working for the common goal. And that is to have these children be the best versions of themselves that they can be. Not my kid like your kid, not your kid like my kid, the best version of themselves that they can be. We all have gifts. And so that's one thing that I love about this district. It's so diverse, and the people who are here, they want to be here. And like a higher up said to me, and the ones who don't want to be here, they get weeded out like bad weeds in our gardens. They got to go bye-bye. So anyhow, I'm looking forward to this new year, walking around the building in the summertime. Man, it's mad boring when there ain't no kids. You just see a lot of old people walking around. But it is different when it is full with a lot of kids, smiling faces and their big mouths. I didn't think that that's something I would miss, but I really did. So I am looking forward to this year and all the great changes. Soldiers, keep fighting a good fight. Thank you so much for having a space for FAC to show up and do what we do best. Everybody have a blessed night.
Thank you very much. And I do agree, your trees are looking good. I've been noticing them as I've been driving back and forth to the schools relentlessly with just the before school activities. It's quite something. So I feel like I'm there as much as I am during the school year. I think that is it. Any other comments? Okay. Our next meeting is also September the 11th, Thursday of that month. And we will all see each other next week at the board meeting. See ya.
Good night, everybody.